Kristian Downer is a Zoom, Facebook, and LinkedIn trainer. He's going to be running a series of free webinars in June. So we wanted to pick his brains beforehand. We're going to find out how you can always look great on Zoom and the future of Facebook with messenger rooms, which one day will potentially be the rival to Zoom. Kristian, welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Kristian.
Hi, Ben. Hi, Jack.
Hey, how you going?
Yeah, good. Enjoying nice sunny day inside.
I was going to say, I'm actually happy that we've got you on because you're the first person alongside me to wear a headset, which is brilliant.
I found that because you find out how the lack of soundproofing is in your house when you're on a call at 7 in the morning and your wife is like, could you not? You know,
could you not shout? Could you not be so loud? Yeah.
Could you not have all of the people in that Zoom call in, bouncing through the house? That would be great.
Yeah. It's like you suddenly got a crowd in your house talking about business. No, totally get that. Well, thank you for coming on, Kristian. Thank you for joining us. I think the stuff that you and the sort of what you're working at the moment is really, really interesting because one of the big platforms that has come to the forefront since lockdown started and this pandemic obviously hit us is Zoom. Video conferencing is massive. So I suppose for someone who's a Zoom trainer and you work in and around the software, just tell us a little bit about Zoom's journey and why it's important right now.
So Zoom's actually, and people often forget this, Zoom's been around for a very long time, long time, but it was, you'd offer it to people and they'd be very hesitant. You'd only do it as kind of a last resort. But when the lockdown hit, obviously we were looking for a platform to change meetings and, to still have conversations with people where we can see their face. And it just exploded. I haven't got the exact figures, but we're talking thousands of % growth. They're a publicly listed company, and I know their stock price has gone absolutely through the roof as you would expect. And but what they found is a lot of us, from a privacy and security perspective, feel fairly safe because we're too small to worry about, we're not Google or Facebook that are getting attacked by hackers hundreds of thousands of times a day. And then what happened was Zoom suddenly becomes this big, interesting tool, and suddenly they had the attention of people that, were looking to do no good. So usage through the roof, but also the attention through the roof. And I think they've had to, and I've actually been quite impressed by how quickly they've innovated to improve things and actually held their hands up and said, yeah, this isn't perfect, we'll fix it.
Yeah, and the CEO has been very open about those flaws, hasn't he? From what I've seen. And for those who are out there that still won't use the platform because of those stories and because of those potential security flaws, what would you say to them now?
I would say that there's always a risk when you're doing anything online, but I don't think Zoom would be the place that I would be suggesting you have the kind of conversations and interactions that would be privileged in that sense. Anyway, I mean, I don't know about you, but if people were to hack into my Zoom and see what I was talking about, 90% of the time they would be very disappointed with just how dull and boring it was.
Yes.
And so what we've been doing is, we've been working with our local chambers of commerce and a few others on the meeting functionality to, train them to make sure they know about waiting rooms, about, where needed, making sure people have to register, having a password. Some of this is just computer security 1998. If you don't want people to get access to something, protect it,
Yeah.
And don't share an open link on Twitter or wherever, and be surprised when suddenly people that you weren't expecting join in. I mean, I do know that one local networking group to us did have a group of, they were in the early days before I was involved in helping them. They were Zoom bombed, to use that description. And
is that the terminology now? Is that it? When loads of people join your Zoom call, you get Zoom bombed?
Yeah, and they got Zoom bombed by people that were wearing sombreros and had nothing else on.
Well, at least it's creative bombing, right?
Yeah, I was devastated, not from just that I wasn't there, just to see everyone's reaction. It's like...
I think that'd make a really good viral video. I need to check out and see if there's any more of those because they'd be hilarious. So I suppose that the question I've got to ask is off the back. Obviously, we all know what Zoom is as a platform. It's a video conferencing platform. There's so much you can do on it, but why should people either be using Zoom, or why should people check out Zoom over platforms like Skype and Google Hangouts? Because at the moment, it really is at the forefront above those, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that Skype, this should be Skype's moment, but I don't think they developed their tech. They built a great product, 10, 15 years ago, but they haven't brought it on. And I think what Zoom did, it just captured that moment in time. And sometimes companies can do that, and they are very much where they are. Compared to Hangouts, you can do a lot of what you can do on Hangouts, that you can do on Zoom. But I think it's a platform that's easy to use. I have taught, sort of 70, 80-year-old relatives how to use it. It feels a bit more secure, as in you have a personalized link, and it's, and there's more stuff you can do. But from a business perspective, it allows you to do pretty much everything you would be doing in your business, face to face. You can do Zoom, whether it's a whiteboard, whether it's, actually, we're going to do breakout rooms, and we're going to have, networking, we're going to share files, we're going to have the chat, the polls. It allows you, apart from physically, going up and shaking hands or touching people, there's pretty much, you can do everything that you would want to do there. I mean, I think there are some, it's not the only platform out there. I think Microsoft Teams is also a very good piece of software, but it's because it's not Google aligned, it's not Mac or Apple aligned. It allows people to sit in the middle, whether they're PC or Mac, and not have to compromise. And I think that's why it's done so well. And because it became dominant so quickly, it's a bit like, Hoover becoming the brand name for vacuuming. It's going to have that, or Google for search, to make it, use a reference in this century. Google something. It's that, and it's, I think we all say, let's do a Zoom rather than just, let's do a video conference.
You mentioned there, sorry, Kristian. You mentioned then a little bit about breakout rooms, and you mentioned there, about them grabbing hold of that, so to speak, the brand, the video conferencing being the Zoom of the world, so to speak, and having their own sort of identity. I think what was interesting for me when I went on to BNI, a recent BNI event, I noticed the breakout rooms, and I thought they're really clever in how they were done. But there's also a lot more to Zoom, isn't there? Webinars are being held on there, networking events are being held on there. So, I think you're probably leading on to this anyway. Do you have any tips on how to get the most out of Zoom if you're hosting a webinar, but also if you're attending one too?
Yes. So we've been, first of all, I'm a new BNI member, so I would, I'll just give them a shout and say that, I think they were one of the organizations that jumped on this really quickly. I think most chapters only missed one meeting because they had that worldwide reach. They saw what was happening in Italy and Spain and other places, and they were able, by the time it got locked down here, they were like, this is the plan. Let's do it. And what we're again seeing is the companies that aren't adapting, even in networking, are struggling. I think 4N also get a notable mention on that. I think they adapted really quickly to this, to run online meetings. But yeah, if you're looking to run a webinar, so I've been running webinars for clients and for our own marketing over the last month or so on Zoom. It's the classics. It's prepare. When we run a webinar, 15 minutes before, we want all the panelists on. To check the sound, check the video, do all that kind of thing. Run them through the functionality, the Q&A section at the bottom, and that's it. Again, it's fairly idiot proof. I'm using it every day and showing people how to use it, so it can't be too techy. It's not, and that's its great strength. But again, a lot of it comes down to kind of meeting etiquette, training people to remember to mute themselves, but also then remember to unmute themselves. Otherwise, you get that really awkward bit where they're kind of
and
you get that kind of piece there. and just be aware that they're on camera. I think that's been the interesting thing for me. You know, we see again. You mentioned viral clips. You know, the lady, I think it was in Italy or Spain, that took the Zoom call to the toilet with them, and someone who decided that, you know, they were going to log on to the call, but before it got started, they were going to be naked and do their exercises, and you know, it's kind of, you know, just remember that. But what we're also seeing is companies that said you couldn't do a meeting online, or that, you know, you can't record the session when we do it, you know, face to face. But now they have no problem with you recording a Zoom call, and it's like it's the same content, and that's it really. We've just broken through that barrier of online, and we've seen this in e-commerce as well. It's like people are, you know, necessity means that people aren't using those excuses anymore, and we're in this moment where we're just so used to change because our life is in constant flux at the moment that people are listening to ideas that even 3 months ago would have been laughed out the room.
And luckily for Zoom, they're at the forefront of that, aren't they? Obviously, social media channels are adapting as well to what's going on. And as is always the way, when someone comes out with a good new feature, it gets replicated and rebranded and launched by a social channel. And Facebook dropped a bombshell that they're going to be releasing messenger rooms, which basically sounds like Zoom, but on Facebook Messenger. Can you reveal any more about it, what you've read, and do you think this is going to be a viable rival to Zoom, and the Facebook going to dominate the world even more?
I mean, I think because it's Facebook and the market share they have across, you know, I'm a Facebook accredited trainer and have a great relationship with them, but because of the way they work, it's, you know, they're going to be a huge rival. Of course they are. You know, it's Facebook, and I certainly think it may be in the leisure, you know, in the personal space, that I think they're going to dominate. I think they'll definitely take that piece, because, you know, it just makes sense if everyone's got Facebook to just run these rooms and do that if you want to have a quiz night or something like that, rather than necessarily Zoom and that link and the hassle maybe of doing that. But I'm unsure in the commercial space. I mean, obviously there's the price benefit. You know, they're looking at doing this for free. Up to 50 people, no cost. That's going to have an advantage over Zoom. But I don't think Zoom's extortionately priced at $11.99 for 100 users, unlimited meeting time. But what I think we're going to see is our companies going to be willing to kind of almost the same challenge that Facebook Workplace has. Our employees and small businesses going to want to mix business for pleasure and run business meetings and that kind of stuff from Facebook? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because that's also mixing the social element of maybe some people's jobs with the professional element, and that's always a hard thing to juggle. So it'll be interesting though to see, won't it, how it works, how they incorporate it, how involved do you reckon Instagram and WhatsApp might be in this? Do you reckon it would all interlink?
Yeah, I think so. I know that you know, having seen the product roadmap for Facebook, the closer integration certainly with WhatsApp with those is on the cards. And I think WhatsApp would probably be a good long term, might be a good route for that. You know, particularly if they develop more the desktop side even further. But yeah, I think what would have seen is if Zoom wasn't such a big company, I think Facebook would have just done what they did with Instagram, and just taken that competitor out of the market, but by buying them. And we saw what's happened with Snapchat. That Snapchat was the company that obviously famously didn't sell out to Facebook, and Facebook I think have been very successful in replicating that user experience.
Yeah.
For users on Facebook, and that's left Snapchat struggling in many ways. And I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out here, and how successful Facebook are in doing the same again. And I think it would be foolish to bet against Facebook being successful.
Like 100%. Kristian, thank you for coming on and spreading some knowledge about Zoom. It's been great chatting about the platform, and to learn a bit more about its backstory as well, and also about messenger rooms too. Where can people find you? I take it LinkedIn's the best place?
LinkedIn is the best place. You did mention the webinars I'm running,
yes.
So I'm going to do a quick pitch if
please do. Okay, yeah.
So if you just put my company name in, which is Dow Social, DOWSOCIAL, and then Eventbrite into Google, so Dow Social Eventbrite, you'll get the link to our Eventbrite listings. Another cool feature of Zoom that you can integrate directly into Eventbrite. It's been really successful for us. And we're running events on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're speaking about something about doing TikTok. It's not something I do myself, so I'm going to bring someone in. But web design, lots of free events, and it'll all be hosted on Zoom. So if you are wondering what it's like to be a participant in a Zoom webinar, then do come join us. Absolutely free as well.
Perfect, Kristian. Well, I'll try and jump on a couple, definitely. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll speak to you again soon as well.
No problem. Thanks for your time, Ben. Great to see you both.
Cheers. Thank you. Take care.